Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kearsey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. It is a dark, stormy night. It's Labor Day. I am in Ohio in the new Paris Petro. Like half the parking lot is empty, seriously. I have a clip I'm going to show you, and it looks really cool with all the lightning and everything. This is the second time in the past week that I've been here, and I got here at 6 o'clock tonight, and it's like half empty. There's got to be a couple hundred parking spots here. I was also here last week. See the lightning? Ooh, scary. But I was here last week, and it's the same thing. I got in at 10 o'clock at night, and 2 whole rows were completely empty. So good spot for parking if you need it in Ohio. I got a couple emails recently asking me about tips on becoming a trainer. Now, the first thing I want to say about this is do not train for the money. You have to train if you really enjoy teaching, which I do, if you want to help people. But if you're doing this for the money and you just want to run people for the miles, you're going to be thoroughly disappointed every time. Seriously. It is really fulfilling when somebody comes back to you and says, I am such a great driver now. I was so prepared. I can't believe that I'm doing this. And especially when they come back to you and say, hey, the other people that were in my class don't know as much as me. So I have, get this, 10 tips, 10. I know it's going to be a long video, on how you can improve your skills as a trainer if you're contemplating it. Comment down below and let me know, have you ever been a trainer? Have you ever considered it? Are you nervous about it? We want to know, because it's not as bad as you might think, and it can be actually really rewarding. So comment down below, hit that subscribe button, because I know a couple of you have been watching me and you haven't subscribed yet. Come on, join the fun and the crowd. And we'll be right back. Tip number 1, be compassionate, understanding, and have empathy. You know, you are new once too, and it's really scary and it's really easy to forget how fearful somebody could be when driving a truck for the first time. And it's funny because I see a lot of people online saying, oh, well, you got to be trained, you got to be driving at least 5 years or 10 years before you should become a trainer. But part of that problem of waiting that time is that you forget how nervous it can be and how scary it can be. You know, we sit here now and come on, let's face it, we see people driving with one hand and they're sitting there drinking and, you know, they're talking on the phone and they're looking around. But when you're brand new, you're terrified. And even when you walk past the truck stops, sometimes I'm in awe thinking, wow, I drive something that big every day. Try to remember, we've all been there. It's hard to learn the backing. Don't just take over everything. You have to allow them to find their way and to get the practice in. It's not all about you making your delivery on time. If that student says, I feel safe driving at 55, then allow them to drive at 55. Don't tell them to go 60 or 65 or whatever your truck does, because that's a way to get you both killed. It's a way to get you both killed, and that person, that driver, is never going to build up the confidence that they need. Number 2, this is something that I always make sure I do. People get motivated when you praise them. And they feel more confident when you show them that they're not as bad as what they think they are in their heads. You also have to criticize them. So what I would do at the end of every day is I would say, this is what you did really well today. You know, maybe you're given really good distancing, but what you need to work on is you need to slow it down a little bit. you know, you're taking curves too fast, so from now on, we're going to go, you know, 10 miles per hour below the speed limit before a ramp, or 50% of the speed limit, whatever it is, that rule that you're going to make up. So you're always telling them something good and something you have to work on, and allow them to know what your expectations are. It's really frustrating when a student doesn't understand what you want and they can't give it to you, and then you're mad because you're not getting the results that you expect. Always do, good and bad, and also ask them, hey, do you have any questions, problems, or concerns that we need to work on? Because if you give them that opportunity to give you feedback, it's going to build your relationship in a sense that they don't feel like there's a wall. They don't feel as though they're going to be critiqued for being stupid and asking dumb questions. Number 3, have a curriculum. Not every company actually gives you a curriculum and says, hey, you need to do a certain number of downgrades. Coming from Springfield Terminal, I always get my first load out of the terminal with the student. I always get a load that's going down to Florida or Atlanta. The reason I do this is I take them down US 65, which is a very tight curve, hilly type of road that a lot of it is one lane in each direction. It goes down grades and curves, and then it gets wider and it goes through traffic lights. It's a pain in the neck. Most of us try to avoid it, but with me sitting in that seat next to them and them going through all of these different situations, they're learning. They're learning how to adjust. They're learning how to deal with situations and lights, and you're sitting there to guide them. Not yell at them, not criticize them, but just guide them. You know, just brake a little bit more, give a little more distance, you know, be patient. Also on that same run, I then take them down Mont Eagle on I-24. So we go on a steep downgrade, and I teach them how to use the jakes. And I also, if I have enough time, I'll turn around and make them go back up and then come back down again and have them do it without the jakes. That's good experience right there. And then, where does it go? Georgia or Florida? We go right around the Atlanta on 285. And it gives them, you know, experience in traffic. And because you're sitting right there, you know, this is before we get into the teaming situation. So you're giving them all these different scenarios where they're getting high traffic, they're getting downgrades, they're getting small roads. It's a great route. I also make it a point to try to get them across as many mountain passes as possible. So my one student was from Mississippi, and everybody in the terminal told him that Wyoming was horrible, they don't drive it, it's snowing. He never drove in snow before, so guess what we did? To get him over that fear, we were driving back and forth across Wyoming almost the whole winter. And guess what? When he went into the terminal and went to upgrade, it was still like February or March. And my fleet manager says, so how'd you do? And he says, I did great. And he says, how do you feel about Wyoming now? And my student said, beep, Wyoming. Now it ain't nothing now, and I know where all the truck stops are, so I'm good. You know, I got him to conquer that fear. Number 4, make sure you plan backing scenarios. I always make it a point to find really big truck stops like this one that I'm at right now, to give them a few hours to back up. Even if I have to, I'll put off, especially if I need it downtime anyway, just trying to build up our 70 clock again. You know, I'll tell dispatch, hey, I need extra time before the next load because we're going to do backing practice. You know, I can put it on yard maneuvers at my company and we could do that. But even if I have them in drive status, it really doesn't matter. Because they need that practice. One of the most frustrating things for me though was that I had 2 whole days where a customer was closed on the weekend, and I said to a student, we have 2 days. You can back and practice all you want. And I just jump in the bunk and say, do whatever you got to do. There's nothing around here you're going to hit, because the truck stop was practically empty. And this driver didn't take me up on it. It was like an hour and a half of driving, and then, okay, well, now what? Well, I want you to keep doing it. Create opportunities where they get to learn. There were times that I'd have them park in a space, and then I'd say, you know what, drive me through the fuel island now, because now I need to go to the bathroom. And then I'd say, you know what, we got to go scale this. Let's go sit on the scale and get on the scale. And it was practice to line up and get in the fuel island or on the scale. And I'd tell them, okay, now go back and park. And then after they got in this space, I'd say, guess what? I don't like this space. Go and park on the other side. And this time it better be the blind side slants. So change it up and, you know, have a plan of what you want to do. Number 5, remember that they are people too. You have to remember they have needs. They're going to be sick. They're going to get headaches. They're going to need their laundry done. They're going to need to go to the bathroom more often. They might need to stop and rest a little bit more to build up their stamina. They may need to go to Walmart to get something or prescriptions. And if they don't feel comfortable telling you, you might not know. So make it a point to ask, or at least make it a point to tell them, look, once a week we're going to stop and we're going to do laundry. That's your opportunity to do laundry. If you need to get into Walmart, then tell me 2 days ahead of time so that I can make a plan. But let them know you're there for them. Number 6, adjust to their learning style. There's 3 different kinds of learning styles. People either hear from doing, like hands-on, from listening, or from seeing. So what I try to do is I try to incorporate all of that. I'll show them and I'll tell them what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and then I make them do it. So, like if we were going to attach the glad hands, I'd actually say, I'm going to put the blue one on first, and we put it at a 45-degree angle and insert it and then pull it down and then connect the green one, and by doing it in order, we don't tangle up the lines, and I'll go through that, and then I make them do it. And sometimes I'll even make them tell me what it is that they're doing, because again, now they're hearing it again and they're watching themselves do it, plus they're doing it. So you're hitting all 3 learning styles. There are some people that can deal with a load of information all at one time. The more you repeat, the more they pick up. There are some people that think that doing that is just overwhelming. So you have to do step by step. Like maybe the first few days you just work on the Qualcomm macros. And then after that you might deal with the hours of service and explain that in depth. You know, after that, then you deal with the reefer settings. Again, that goes back to having a plan on how you do things. Number 7, share your mistakes with them. We've all been there. We've all had accidents. We've all gotten stuck somewhere or made stupid turns or whatever. I did a video, one of my first videos was I talked about how I knocked an axle off the trailer going through the fuel island. I got distracted. I mean, it's one of those things that just happens, and most likely somebody's going to do that. So if you can share your mistakes with people and say to them, hey, I expect you to make mistakes, it'll calm them down. I have one student that in the automatic was going forward and backward and forward and backward so much trying to park that the clutch overheated, and then the transmissions start dying, and there's red lights and beeps and everything, and she got really upset, and I was like, don't be upset, we're just going to shut the truck off for a little while and let it cool down, and then we'll be fine. And she says, I ruined your transmission. I said, so? Even if you did, what do I care? And she was like, what? I was like, well, not my truck. I'm a company driver. If the transmission is blown, it's covered under warranty, and Prime will give me a brand new truck in the meantime. So don't worry about it. Now, I know some people are going to say to me, well, that's no way to think because it's going to cost your company money and then that affects and blah, 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 whatever. Okay, my job right then and there is to get this woman to calm down and not be upset. That's my primary objective. It's more beneficial for my company to have a productive driver than to worry about what would happen if they had to pay a hotel bill and downtime for me. Okay? I had one student that, my very first student, we were in the manual and she kept stalling the truck in traffic because she couldn't downshift fast enough. It's part of the learning process. Don't scream and yell at them. She actually, when she did it, she would like wince like this because apparently her CDL instructor, when she was in private CDL school, was yelling at her. So she was almost like an abused animal or child that winced waiting for me to yell. And I was like, look, put the flashers on, start the truck up, and let's go. And she's like, you're not going to yell at me? No, I'm not going to yell at you. You know why? Because number one, I stole the truck all the time when I was new. Number two, this is why you're in training, to learn. And number three, nobody out on the road expects you to be a student. Okay, for all they know, the truck transmission just blew up, the truck needs to be towed, or an accident occurred right in front of you. They can't see through you. Nobody on the road expects a student to be driving one of these things. Unless you're already a trucker, then you expect it. But don't worry about them. Worry about functioning this truck and being safe about it. Start it back up. Let's go. Look in your mirrors. Make sure nobody's flying all around you. And let's get out of here. Be able to share and communicate your mistakes. Be patient with them. Understand they're going to make mistakes. Number 8, make sure you teach them how to use an ATLAST. This is so important. Teach them to use the ATLAST and not rely on the GPSs. I'm going to do a video about different people that, got messed up by the GPS. It's going to happen. There were people that drove into a lake because the GPS said it. It was a road and then it turned into a boat slip and it was pouring down rain, worse than what's going on right now, and it was pitch black dark with no lights around. They couldn't see, and that's where it told them to go. They didn't realize they were even in water until it was too late. So, you got to teach them not to rely on the GPS. It's only going to cause them problems. And if you're a team trainer, you do not want them hitting a bridge. You do not want them, winding up in some back alley somewhere that then you have to figure out how to get out of. It's only going to stress them out. The more they are prepared for trip planning and writing out the route, the better driver they're going to be, the less stressed they're going to be, and the easier your job is going to be. Teach that ATLAST. I'm going to do a video on that too, and on trip planning. I just need time. Number 9, always communicate exactly what you want. And do it in a low tone. Yeah, that's hard for me, the Jersey girl with the big mouth. Yeah, I know. You almost have to speak to them in a quieter voice. Like, I would say, Patty, I need you to slow down a little bit. Look in your mirrors. Look in both mirrors. Make sure you look in your hood mirror. Give a little bit more distance. Apply the brake lightly. Because if you're screaming and yelling, or even if you're in a manual, if you're grabbing that stick and trying to get in the gear, you're just going to make the student more nervous. When I'm team training, a lot of times I let them go do things and they don't realize that I'm like getting out and looking around to see what's going on, and then I'll go back in the back again. It doesn't make any sense to get upset. They're going to make mistakes and you need to understand that. Okay? You need to communicate exactly what you want. Even if it's at the beginning of the day, say, I need you to trip plan this route. Find someplace along the way that you want to stop for your 30-minute break. Give them the tools that they need. One thing that I do is I have this little pocket truck stop guide. And if you've never used these, they're by state and then by highway. And yes, they have all these little abbreviations of small and extra large and medium-sized truck stops. But what I started doing was, while the driver was on the truck with me, we would highlight the places that have really good parking even at midnight and later at night. And they would get to highlight the places that they liked, that they saw along the way. And by doing that, they're already got a prepared plan. When they go solo, it's so much less stressful when it comes to them trying to find parking. And even encourage them to make notes in the margins or maybe on the back page of any customers that might have overnight parking, or other places, even industrial parks that are near parking, like Washington Courthouse Walmart, for example, has an industrial park next door to it in Ohio. So make a note there. And number 10, allow them to make mistakes. Sometimes you have to allow them to make the mistakes to learn from it. And here's an example. I had a student that was always rush. We were in a location where when he lined up to back into the dock, he wasn't going to have enough room to pull forward to open the doors. So while we were angled before he got into the space, I said to him, before you line up for the dock, you need to get out now and open those doors. You won't have enough room to pull forward and open the doors. And he says, yeah, okay, I just want to line up. And I said to him again, once you line up, you're not going to be able to open the doors. There's not enough room to pull forward. You need to open them now. Yeah, okay. Okay. I said it twice. Okay. Then it took him a long time to back in because it was a tight dock. That's why it was tight. You didn't even have enough room. That's why you didn't have enough room to pull forward, because it was tight. Right? So what happens? He gets all the way in and he gets out and he goes to the back, and then he comes back and he goes, I have to pull back out. I couldn't open the doors. Wow. Never thought of that one. Okay. Same student. He was in a dock with his tandems all the way to the back. He went to move out and needed to park in a space there. And I had said to him, slide the tandems forward while you're here so that when you turn around, you can back into the space and park. Again, this place was too tight. Having the tandems forward, all the way forward, would allow him better swing to get into the space that he needed to. And I also noticed there was a tree behind that space. So he said to me, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to get lined up. This is the same thing he told me all the time. So he's trying to pull forward and back up into the space, and he's got the tandems all the way in the back. And he kept trying to swing around, and he was like, kept stopping a few inches from the truck next to us. So he's pulling forward and pulling back, pull forward, pulling back. And the guy next to us gets out and says, if you slide your tandems forward, you'll have a much easier time trying to back up. Gee, never thought of that either. Right? And then, of course, he went and did it because somebody else told him, I guess, whatever, I'm a woman, or I don't know what it was. I think he wanted to try really hard, and I think a lot of times he wanted to impress me. So he would try to do things on his own. So after he slides the tandems and he's backing up, he kept backing up and backing up and backing up. And I was on the phone with a friend while I was in the sleeper, and then all of a sudden you heard ba-boom, and a suitcase came flying off the top bunk. The student jumps out and runs down the back of the truck, and my friend on the phone says to me, what happened? I said, well, he just hit a tree. And he says, what? I said, he was backing up and he hit the tree behind us. And he says, you're not going to get out and go help him? I said, no, it's his problem. He made the mistake. Now he's going to have to go take pictures and send in the accident report, and guess he's going to learn how to do an accident report. Deal with safety. I told him to watch. He didn't watch. That was on him. He had to do it himself. And he came back in and he said to me, Guess what I did? I said, you hit the tree behind us. And he goes, how'd you know that? I'm like, because I actually looked. That's how. Now, I'm not saying let your students hit things. Well, I did have a student that I kept telling her, watch that mirror, and twice I stopped her from hitting something on either side because she wasn't looking in the mirrors. And I said to her, you need to understand, if you hit something that goes on your license, on your record, not on mine, okay, you are in control of this vehicle while you're driving. You are responsible, not me. Will somebody come back to me and say, well, where were you? Sure, I'm sure they will. But guess what? In the end, it's on you, not on me. Really, the worst thing that my company's going to do to me if my student has an accident like that is they're going to tell me, okay, you can't train anymore. They're not going to fire me. They might fire you if you go take out a few vehicles and you didn't even notice because you weren't looking in the mirrors or you're playing on your phone. Yeah, you can get fired. But I'm not going to get fired because you were driving the truck and you didn't do what you were supposed to do by looking in those mirrors. Also, with making mistakes, also allow them to try to figure out what to do. An example is, by the last month, they are totally in control of the truck. They have to trip plan, they have to send all the macros. I just drive. But the last week or two, I usually don't even answer questions. Not unless it's something major that's going to affect, like, you know, our load, but I don't answer questions. And here's an example. I had a student that she drove into a Tyson parking lot, but she drove into the employee car parking side. She didn't drive into the truck entrance. Now, she woke me up to ask me, what do I do? Where do I go? Well, I don't know. You're the one that drove in here. You know, what would you do next week when you upgrade into your own truck? Because that's what's going to happen. You have to prove right now you can run a truck by yourself. So stop asking me questions. She had some choices. We were in a really big parking lot. It wasn't like she didn't have enough swing room. Because if that were the case, then I would have helped her. But there was a guard shack right there at the car employee entrance. She could have walked over there and said, hey, where's the truck entrance? Give me directions. She could have called up the phone number to Tyson and asked them, hey, I'm on the wrong side of the building. Do you know how I can get? Do I have to turn left or right out of this parking lot? She could have pulled up Google Maps satellite and looked. But she didn't. She chose to ask me. And I said to her, you have to learn how to fix your problems on your own. Because next week, you will be on your own. I won't be there. And, you know, I've had students that once they went to upgrade, they were like, thank God I had you as a trainer. And it really is. I have emails that I get from people, and not even people that were even on my truck. I get emails from drivers that tell me that I helped them more than their own trainers that they were with. And they're not even necessarily from Prime either. I have people from Swift and Schneider and a couple other companies that, you know, either email me or call me regularly. Pay it forward. If somebody, I'm sure some driver helped you, or use the motivation of maybe you had a crappy trainer and you want to be better. You want to give somebody else a better experience. Maybe you had a great trainer and you want to give somebody else the experience that you had. Training can be very rewarding. Do me a favor, guys, like, comment, subscribe, ring the little notification bell. Make sure you comment down below and let me know, were you a trainer and did you like it? Did you hate it? What other crazy stories do you have? What kind of tips do you have for new trainers? And I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.